What is the best format for an RPG book? Softback, hardback, spiral bound, or trade paperback?
I'm going to give you that terrible generic answer of it depends, right? And it depends on a whole bunch of things. So softback is cheaper to ship, can create a sense of value for money in some ways. I mean, Palladium never changed their format for a very long time, and that allowed them to keep their prices down, and I think that certainly helped shore up their support and maintain their fan base and so on. So they always used to produce somewhat cheap softback books. That's shifted in more recent times to a degree, but that was how they made their bread and butter. And if you're doing print on demand, usually that works out to be the cheapest option, both for shipping and for production. Though you may find that your paper and your binding options are limited if you're going for softback. Once you get over about 100 to 150 pages, then I think hardback starts looking a bit more appealing. It's generally more hard-wearing and solid, does cost a lot more to ship, does cost quite a bit more to print depending which printer is doing it. You may not be able to offer the hardback option through Amazon if you're using print on demand, like say Lulu for example, but it has a more of a prestige sort of format to it, I think, so that can add perceived value past a certain price point, and I'm not sure exactly where that is these days. Softbacks are also often lighter to carry around. Hardbacks are heavier to carry around, but they also stand up to being transported about a lot better. So there's that to consider as well, because a lot of games these days seem to be designed to be shelf queens, in that they're pretty, but you don't really want to be carrying them around from your library to the game, because they're going to get dinged, and that's certainly the case for a lot of hardback books. It's weird, RPG books are kind of like part art book and part fantasy novel or whatever else, or whatever other genre, but they're also part manuals, and how many manuals and academic books are hardbound? Not a great many of them, despite the very high cover price. Spiral bound is, generally speaking, terrible, because through use the binding tends to tear through and cut up the pages. The one instance in which I think spiral bound is a good choice is if you're including full-size maps in your book, and so when you fold it out and fold it flat, you want it to be flat so that you can move your miniatures on it without them sliding around and moving. So that's the one case in which I would consider spiral bound to actually be worth it, is if you need something to lay flat. Otherwise it's a terrible format. And you missed off PDFs. People aren't knocking down the prices of their PDFs enough, in my opinion. It should never be more than half the price of the full book. So that's where I'm at with it. Generally speaking, I calculate what the price needs to be for print on demand, and then I halve it, and that is the price for the PDF. PDFs, they're okay on tablets, best on laptops, but the orientation is usually wrong. The real big advantage they have is that they don't weigh anything extra, and they're very searchable. So that's the main thing that PDFs have on them. And weirdly, people complain when you design something in PDF specifically for computer screens, so in landscape format to screen resolution, because apparently a lot of people like to print things out and that's not a convenient size for printing. But what you going to do? It depends.